have to comply, follow policies and procedures. I mean, those who've been in business, have started small businesses for a long time, there's a lot of compliance that you don't comply with. It's not necessarily the right thing to do, but it just doesn't apply to you yet, until maybe you go to the CCMA, or until something actually happens, because it's just not practical for you to cover everything. Right? It's not practical.
And in that case, how do you deal with a situation where, be it a labor law or not, that would say you need to have a minimum wage for an industry that you're operating in, and you need to hire 2 staff to get started, you need to pay them 3.5. Where your company is currently cannot afford to pay that amount. How do you deal with that as a small business? Do you hire somebody, pay below the regulatory requirements, and still keep them to do the job? Or do you say the law is protecting them, therefore I'd rather stay with my company and not hire anybody?
We all know the answer to that, and I was already giving it to you as you were answering. And that's what we're going to do. If my business needs to move, right, and I need to employ people in order for things to happen, personally, I don't necessarily advise that you do it, but I would do it, right? I mean, I know I have a limited number of hours in a day. I can only get to so much, right? Look, the law is something else. I'm trying to create jobs. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm trying to establish a business that at one point it will create the kind of business where it can maybe pay double the minimum wage. But in order for me to get started, number one, I probably won't qualify for a loan, right? My family don't have assets that I can use for, in order to get loans and whatnot. My business model is not scalable or profitable enough for me to convince a VC to give me that funding that I need, or that money that I need. So what do? Shutting down is not an option for me at that point or moment. And so I'm only left with what I need to do in order to move forward. And unfortunately, it would mean breaking the law. I'm speaking to practicality. There's a lot of things that we as entrepreneurs have to do. Unfortunately, it's just not practical. Yes, it maybe has to do with the fact that some of the regulations and policies actually are just not practical and applicable to small businesses. But at some point, we need to get started. Some of us are running businesses we're not registered. That is breaking the law. But what are we saying? What are we saying just about that? That in itself is a policy or a regulation that some of us are breaking.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to allow 3 questions for a start. I'll open another round of questions, right? If you have any questions to the panels, please, with a show of hand, I believe that they will assist us with the microphone to see if we can ask those questions as we move forward. Because it's getting hot in here, right? Do we have water? I think we do. Yes, first question.
No, thank you. No, my question is to KK. I'm with you on the practicality and so on. I just want to get your take on what's your view on integrity and ethics in business. What portion of that do you think, is what's the word? Do you think is necessary for your business to attract the necessary goodwill, to be a good corporate citizen, and also the potential to attain bigger business because of your standing within society? So in your evaluation and analysis, what is your measure, and what kind of mix between integrity, ethics, and being practical?
Over to you, sir.
Thank you for that question. It's either a simple question or a very difficult question, depending on how I look at it. And I'm gonna try and choose the easy part, but it's not easy. And I'll tell you why. Because integrity is one of my highest values. I value and I pursue integrity on a daily basis. And it's partly because I struggle with it every day. I struggle with it because how do I remain within integrity with myself when that particular scenario is in conflict with the law? You can be in integrity within yourself, but it's actually conflicting with the law. But it is practical. And you can have the same scenario, but it's actually impractical. So it's not such an easy question at the end of the day, right? But it's a very smart and a very important question. And I would ask, just by the way, there isn't the right answer to the question you're asking. It's the right answer for everyone, right? I think paying taxes is a thing that is of integrity to do, right? But you get to a point sometimes where you have to choose between paying SARS and paying staff members. If somebody loses a family member, they don't have money to bury them. You need to pay your VAT at the end of the month. What do you do? What do you do? Any other month I'd pay VAT. But now I have to be in integrity with myself when my fellow staff member or colleague has a scenario of that nature. What do I do? Me not paying VAT and assisting them to go and bury their loved ones is me being in integrity with myself. Does that make sense? I am breaking the law, but it is practical in my mind. Does that make sense? Please don't take my advice, at least not this time.
Any other question? I think I've noted you there at the back, my brother, then you. Next.
So I think I'm in agreement with KK regarding the question around the labor laws in this country being onerous, right? And I'm in agreement in that I think we should stop passing the blame to other people, right? I think the labor laws of this country are okay. I think we need to take the responsibility as entrepreneurs to create value for employees and ourselves. But the mere fact that employees can actually take us to CCMA or labor card is because we fail to lead. I really believe that. I believe every employee, when they join the firm, they are happy. And keeping them happy is a responsibility that the employee and the employer should keep together. But the employee is not the leader. You are the leader. You should constantly check the mood in the room, make sure that your employees are okay. I mean, your recruitment processes allow you to choose the best people. That's why you have those employees. Now, those best people cannot become bad over a period of 2 years without both of you having played a role. And I'm not saying this from a place of ignorance. I mean, I've worked in a company where I've seen a lot of great people walk out, and I've been exposed to both the employer and the employee, and I can comfortably say that in some of the cases, it was a clear show of leaders being unable to lead, because we're too. I think sometimes as entrepreneurs in the room, I think sometimes we're too obsessed with ourselves and our own personal interest, and we fail to lead. I mean, like, if you are going to hire 50 people today, and then because your profit targets are 20% return on equity, you can't meet them, and then you fire them, that's failing to lead, because you should have never been in that position in the first place. And that is just like the comment I'm trying to make. So I think I would like to hear your view around, which obviously sums up what I just said now. What is the purpose of an entrepreneur? Understanding that entrepreneurship is not a job.
Okay.
Well, I think the point that you just made is a very point, and it's a fair point. And hence, in my session earlier, I did make a point that I was an employer, and I support, the labor laws of this country and understand their basis. But at the same time, I think it's also important to make such comments from a point of having had experience, truly experienced what it truly means. It's easier to be saying, we are self-centered, we're narcissistic, we're only looking at our own interests, or we must lead from the front. But when you're experiencing it and when you're truly living it, you realize that, oh my word, you know what? I could only do so much as an employer. I've exhausted all avenues that were available. I've been a mother, I've been an employer, I've been a manager, I've been everything. But at the end of it all, I still became a victim. So hence I'm just saying, I want to leave it to experience. You are here today because of you're an entrepreneur, or you're a startup, or you're a seasoned entrepreneur. At some point, you'll understand these dynamics. And you'll make your own call where labor laws of these countries are concerned. But moving to the whole issue of an entrepreneur understanding that they are an entrepreneur, they're not self-employed. Yes, there's a big difference between the two. And that's the challenge that we currently have in this country. Whereby, for instance, you find that maybe a person becomes a startup for years. For years. And that is truly because of, for instance, there are certain hurdles. And I want to talk from a perspective of an entrepreneur, not from the perspective of the client or a community member. And some of the challenges there are embedded on the hurdles that entrepreneurs are continually facing. It's easier to be saying, an entrepreneur must scale, but you find that a business has a potential to scale. But the payment methods, or the payment systems, or the cash flow systems within the company are not allowing that company, that startup, to scale, or be investable, or be fundable. Right now, where I'm at within our business, I'm at a point in time where, for instance, if an international company, because often at times we work with multinational companies, if an international company comes to me and says to me, our payment terms are 90-day, I tell them nicely to say that, thank you so much, it really was nice meeting you, but I don't think this is feasible for us. As it stands, we have one of our clients, for instance, we've been trying to get payment for up to 8 months. It's not a lot of payment, 200,000. It's not a lot for a multinational company. However, it shouldn't take me 8 months before I get payment. With that